Hi, it's Neil Sean here on your entertainment news with the man who created the Beatles. Well, not quite, but it's Mr. Andrew Lancel, who stars in, of course, Epstein, the play. It's currently showing at the Leicester Square Theatre. Remember though, Andrew?
If you miss it, you miss out.
So don't miss Andrew today on your entertainment news. Epstein, the play. Don't give it away, but tell me like the essence of what it's all about.
I think it's a window into not only just the final days of Brian Epstein's life, his whole life. It's kind of like peeping through, you know, through the eyes of the Beatles, through the eyes of the people who knew him, through his eyes, his ups and downs. I mean, this is a guy I think was worthy of a play in the West End, even if he hadn't discovered the Beatles. And he did discover the Beatles, and he put his mark on the Beatles, and in turn, that, I think, changed the world. I kind of think when John met Paul, the world sort of changed. There was a shift. And I kind of think when Brian saw the Beatles, the world changed again. And I think now in this in this year of Brian, when there's a plaque just been unveiled about him, a play in the West End, it just seems quite fitting. And so the play really captures, warts and all, it has to be said, you know, what this guy did, what he went through, and what he achieved. And it's done in, I think, quite a clever way with multimedia and music, but also it's very, it's quite a simple way as well, I think, you know, and it seems to be going down very well. So.
What do you do to get into character? Because your speaking voice is totally different, your mannerisms, you feel like it's like something's come to life, but is there a little process backstage that
there is, to be honest. You know, it doesn't want to sound all actory, but there is. I mean, it's the second time we did it. We did it in Liverpool first, and I read it, and I thought, I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do that. I have no idea where to start. You know, there is a resemblance. We do, you know, look vaguely like each other, and so you do the basic stuff. You do the research. You talk to people. You read the books. You read the books, and we have this amazing thing now called Tinternet, and there's footage there. And in the same way as if Brian was doing an interview with you now, there would be a physique and a mannerism that he would put on for the television, and he would create that. But like we were talking just before this interview, that chat is the interesting stuff, the real Brian, the way he would scratch his ear, the way he would look around. He was a guy from Liverpool, and though he was very middle class and very well brought up and talked quite far back, there was a sort of slight little edge to him because of what he'd been through. And so lots of that, and there is a process. In my dressing room I have this wall of Brian, all different mannerisms and shots of his life, and within the play I kind of do I kind of copy stances and things. And it's funny, the Beatles fans who are coming to see it, that was Shea Stadium, that was that moment, that interview, so that people are picking up. So I stole a lot really and hoped, and it seems to have paid off. But when you meet members of his family, which is always humbling, and his partners and the people he knew and spent time with, and they come back and say, that was him. It's a credit to the play, not just to myself, and it's a credit to Will, who's in it with me.
He, in a way, kind of wanted more recognition for what he'd done. That was the feeling I came out of it with.
I think he wanted to dress the world. I think he wanted to dress himself. He certainly wanted to dress the boys, the Beatles as he called them, and he wanted to dress his visitors, and we know he used to do that, and he had a lot of visitors. I don't know if he wanted the recognition. I think he knew this was his time. I mean, this is a guy who, before he was 20, had been thrown out of the army and you know, gone to drama school, wanted to be an actor. Again, personas, creating personas. You know, had ran a business, had been arrested, all these things. You know, so he crammed a lot into his short time, and then he went off and discovered the Beatles. And so I don't know whether he actually stopped and thought, "Wow, this is something I really want to do." But I think he was extremely good at it. And he had faults, and he wasn't a saint. But every single person I spoke to, without exception, said he was funny, and he was charming, and he shone. And so while, yes, he did have a temper, and he did have an addictive personality, which eventually led to his death, he was full of fun. And you had to be full of fun to look after those 4 boys. You know, you had to be. There's pictures of him with potties on his head. And if you Google it, 2 things. If you Google it, he's usually laughing, he's usually smiling. And the weird thing for me now, as a Beatle fan from Liverpool, when you Google Brian Epstein, my picture comes up. How weird is that? It's just bizarre. It's a good show. I think it's unique. It's on at the Leicester Square Theatre, right on Leicester Square. Amazing, right by Häagen-Dazs, if you're allowed to say that. And we finish on September the 6th. and we're doing 8 shows a week, Thursday and Saturday matinees. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there are some great ticket deals out there. You can get some really cheap tickets, and yeah, come along and see Brian.